And now we have a Special Achievement Award, sponsored this year by the PPL and PRS for Music. We're going to honour someone who has played a huge role in the world of contemporary music in this country, whether as composer, arranger, record producer, or championing of an astoundingly rich and diverse group of composers as the founder of a record label about to celebrate its 30th anniversary. But to tell you more, please welcome someone who knows our recipient, his music and his musical philosophy very well, the conductor Sir Mark Elder.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great challenge getting here, I can assure you. As Jennifer has so beautifully said, this is an award for a special achievement. Make no bones about it, this is not a lifetime achievement award. This is a life that shows no sign of a diminuendo or a morendo and is still actively going. Everybody knows who it is. It's Colin, my dear friend and colleague for so many years, one of our most acclaimed composers, a man who can take commissions from any orchestra in the world and as a result be responsible for a catalogue of incredible depth and variety and success. He has, in his very busy life, always been interested in the breadth of his involvement. I'm particularly thinking of his interest in his fellow colleagues, his fellow composers, the generosity that Colin shows, particularly towards younger composers. When I started at the Halle in Manchester all those years ago, Colin was the first composer in association that we appointed. And I shall always be grateful for the depth of his involvement in the orchestral life, coming to concerts, coming up with unexpected program ideas, thinking about who could write music for us apart from himself, giving us his huge talent in all its variety. I think probably one of the most exciting and unexpected parts of those 10 years together was the enormous project that we had together of orchestrating both books of Debussy's late piano preludes. And he did this, as some of you will be aware already, because they are recorded, and indeed when we recorded them, Colin was the engineer, the editor, the producer of the recording, as if he hadn't got enough to do. The music sounded, I felt, just like Debussy might have imagined it himself. It was a selfless, creative, imaginative triumph. On top of that, he is, of course, a wonderful husband and a wonderful father. But tonight, we need to focus on another part, yet another part of his achievement. 30 years ago, nearly, he formed, with Gustav Holst's daughter Imogen, a remarkable woman, the idea of the Holst Foundation. Now, many of you may not be aware of this. Imogen Holst was a visionary, and this little plan, these meetings that she and Colin had, turned out to be in the last year of her life. And she wanted the funds that had become available as a result of the success of her father's music, not to go towards his music, but to go towards encouraging other British composers. A wonderful dream, a wonderful aim. And they started tentatively, courageously. And I think Colin felt quite soon after that to do concerts of different music was wonderful, but it wasn't enough. And should they not somehow launch a record label? So 28 years ago, they formed and launched NMC. NMC, ladies and gentlemen, can you believe it? NMC, New Music Cassettes. Now, do you remember cassettes? You know, those little things that you put in a machine and they play music. Well, they say they're coming back, I'm not sure, but that's what NMC stands for. New Music Cassettes. No wonder it's now known simply as NMC. But what a dream, What a courageous thing to have done. They started at the highest possible level, and this was obviously crucial, that the quality of the performances, the quality of the artists who they engaged to make these recordings would honour the composers. And the composers were always a great variety of people in our country. I mean, not just established giants, not just the latest thing. For instance, Harrison Birtwistle, Sandy Gurr, Thea Musgrave, Judith Weir, Simon Holt, Gerald Barry, Helen Grime, Mark Bowden, Hugh Watkins. These are names, just a few of the names that have contributed towards this extraordinary achievement. 300 titles in the catalogue, ladies and gentlemen, which speaks for itself, doesn't it? But nobody must think that NMC feels it's done it and this is the end and we're celebrating something achieved. Far from it. Nobody is sitting on any laurels. They are about to launch a series of new education resources for use in schools. Wonderful idea. How do we get young composers to be interested in writing music? So that's part of the aim, to encourage and develop new composers. But also on a more broader base, to foster the idea that one can interest and inspire younger audiences to absorb new music. My experience as a conductor is that they're much, much easier than older audiences, that the openness of young people is a constant inspiration. So when this happened 28 years ago, it was clear that both of them, Colin and Imogen, were visionaries. And Colin, I know, believes absolutely that if Imogen was still alive, she would be thrilled at what this label has achieved. And it is not the only thing that Colin has done, it is merely one part of his extraordinary contribution to our musical life. If Imogen Holst, ladies and gentlemen, would have been thrilled, surely we are too. And I beg you, raise the rafters for Colin Matthews.
Thank you, Mark, for those wonderfully generous words. I'm not sure about cassettes, but we have been thinking about vinyl. This is an extraordinary, special recognition of what we've been trying to achieve with NMC over now nearly 30 years. As Mark has said, a catalogue approaching 300 titles, and that represents the music of over 300 composers, almost exclusively living British composers. NMC has, from the start, been something special. We set it up as a charity. We also are fairly unique in the fact that the entire catalogue is still available. We never deleted anything. And we're expanding education, as Mark has said, and our digital presence is increasing. Last year, apparently, over 11 million minutes of our music were streamed or downloaded. That's 21 years of listening. So we couldn't do this without the support of our growing circle of NMC friends. Do pick up a leaflet before you go. But in particular, we owe a debt to our small but wonderful staff who are so dedicated, and to a very hugely helpful board of trustees. Thank you, Gramophone, for this award. Thank you to PPL and PRS for sponsoring it. Thank you all.